Okay, good morning. Welcome to today's White Coat Wednesday. I'm here with Hershey Cohen, or the newly Dr. Hershey Cohen, who's going to be talking to us about her post-doctoral fellowship project. Good morning, Hershey.
Good morning.
So go ahead and tell me a little bit about your project.
Well, I'm working in the nephrology department, and part of my research is looking at how we can identify a particular kidney injury called acute tubular necrosis, or ATN, a lot more easily. So one of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis is look at urine sediment, which is just basically the non-soluble component of urine. And I look at it under the microscope, I take some photos, I write down some comments about the sediment specimen, and then I take that specimen and I put it in a freezer so that it can then go off to the lab and identify specific proteins that hopefully eventually could lead to something like the equivalent of a rapid COVID test, but for ATN.
Okay.
And then, of course, with all these data, these images, we can use this information to answer further questions that we might have about the kidneys. So, for example, we're looking at the possibility that these casts in the urine sediment, whether or not they correlate to, disease severity, or another thing that we're looking at is whether or not a particular disease state then leads to the likelihood of certain urine sediment findings that initially we thought were just incidental kind of junk findings.
Cool, that sounds really interesting. Why did you pick this project?
Well, I initially was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite medicine podcasts, during a commute, and they were talking about ATN, and they were specifically talking about the difficulties of diagnosing ATN in the hospital setting. So they mentioned how microscopy can be obscured by anything from certain stains in the urine, or it can be that the particular disease state makes it difficult to just identify it with lab findings and the microscopy. So I listened to that, and then shortly after I was approached by the previous postdoc research fellow, Dustin, who worked on the project, and he told me about the project. I was excited because I just heard about the relevance of it, and it turns out my mentor, Dr. Juan Carlos Velez, was actually a guest on that particular episode.
Yeah, so Hershey, how did you find out about the fellowship opportunity?
Well, I heard about it from postdoc fellows the year before us, and also once the opportunity to work on the project arose, it was an easy yes for me.
All right, great. Did you have any research experience prior to this?
Most of my research experience has been at Ochsner, and I have never done any research that requires being behind the microscope, so I really enjoy seeing what goes into this sort of research.
Okay, got it. So what have been some roadblocks you maybe ran into so far?
None really. The main thing that is sort of odd is transitioning from thinking of myself as a student to sort of a doctor or employee. So it's just a matter of how do I introduce myself to new people. But there's tons of people that I can lean on, other fellows, and also my mentor.
Great. And what have been some of the highlights so far?
I would say I really enjoy the whole nephrology department. All the staff are really welcoming. They're super smart. I constantly get to hear about different cases that are interesting. And of course, it's fun to nerd out about things that normally seem silly, like urine sediment and just anything in medicine. So
sure.
Yeah.
All right, Hershey. So I know it's a really stressful time with the match coming up. It's going to be a grueling couple of weeks. But where do you see yourself in the next couple of years?
Okay, so for my career goals, I hope to eventually just be a part of the academic setting. I get to be a teacher, I get to be a learner for the rest of my life, hopefully. And then as far as continuing research, I definitely want to continue that. I see it as a way to exercise curiosity and creativity beyond just the regular clinical duties.
Well, thank you, Hershey, for joining us this morning. That was really interesting. We look forward to seeing you all next time at our next White Coat Wednesday.